for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll open the meeting at 7:05 p.m. And we move on to item number 3, public comment. Is there any public comments? No. Which one are you here for? Item 10? The trail.
10, yes,
Yeah.
the trail.
Yep, yeah, no, at that point, we'll bring you in and, yep, have you introduce yourselves and kind of give the little feedback like you did the time we met in, where it was in Oxford. Yeah. Okay, so is there any other public comment? Hearing no public comment, we'll move on to item number 4, approve minutes from the April 16, 2019 regular meeting. Motion by Anne Marie, second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 5-0. Item number 5, approve minutes from the April 25th, 2019 annual meeting. Can I have a motion to do so? Motion by Bob, second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 3-0-2. And please note Stefan and Anne Marie's abstentions. Item number 6, approve minutes from the April 25th, 2019 special meeting. Can I have a motion to do so? Motion by Bob, second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 3-0-2. And please note Stefan and Anne Marie's abstentions. Item number 7, first Selectmen's report. It's a little lengthy tonight because we've had a couple weeks since our last meeting. I, along with several members of the CCM Executive Board, met with Governor Lamont and his staff to discuss several issues facing towns and cities being proposed in the current budget. The meeting was very good, and the governor was open to listening to our concerns and issues. A week later, we had the chance to meet again with the governor's senior staff to discuss next steps and potential outcomes. Issues that we have include teacher's pension, improvements to the MBR calculation, adding a new tier to MERS, and tolls, to name a few. We are expecting updates from the governor's office by the end of this week. Participated in the Men Who Cook event for Team Incorporated. I'd like to thank the staff at Alberto's Restaurant in Seymour for their assistance in helping me prepare the Peniella vodka I served. It was a big hit. I was honored on behalf of the entire Town Hall staff to host the annual National Day of Prayer service. The event was well attended, like always, and I'd like to personally thank the clergy for holding this event each year. Met with the emergency management team in regards to communications. Going forward, we'll be meeting monthly to review and to plan the overall communications needs of the town of Seymour, including all emergency services, DPW, and the Board of Education. Our new Director of HR, Chris Pelosi, had his first day last week and is already making much-needed updates and changes to our HR department. I'd like to thank Rory Burke for his time and effort holding the department together over the last 2 years. And welcome to the WPCA, Rory. Monica, as I'm reading this, there's a bunch of typos, so if you can go through it. Yeah, thank you. Met with the PD to continue contract negotiations. I expect to have an update to this board at some point in the next month or so. Sat in on interviews for the new business manager for the Board of Education to replace Rick Belden. I'd like to thank Superintendent Mike Wilson for including me in the process. I'd like to thank everyone who came out to the 6th annual taco eating contest, which incredibly was won by Rob Van Agen, so we can have some fun because he's not here to defend himself. In all, we raised a little over $7,000 for Meals on Wheels, so not bad for 5 minutes and 5 seconds. And then finally, we're going to have some changes to the upcoming Board of Selectmen schedule. So I'd like everybody to jot these dates down. Our upcoming meeting will be May 21st as scheduled, June 4th as scheduled. Then we will not have our regularly scheduled meeting, but we'll meet on June 25th, which is the 4th Tuesday in June. And then we will not meet again until July 16th. So we're going to take off the first week in July, which is 4th of July week, so we'll take that off. I cannot meet on the 18th because it's my son's high school graduation, so I expect I would need to attend that. So we're going to skip, and we'll do the week in between. Okay. Which one? The 18th? Oh, all right, so that's good then. All right, so everybody has those. Rory will send out the updates and everything, but just so everyone knows, and Monica, if you can get those in the minutes as well. Excellent. That's not on the sheet that I sent you. Okay. So it's May 21st, June 4th, June 25th, and July 16th. Excellent. Okay. So with that, we will close the first Selectmen's report. We'll move on to item number 8. Discussion, take possible action regarding building permit fees schedule. So in your packet, we have a letter from Jim Baldwin, a clarifying email because Bob had a question, and then you have the zoning department application fees, and then the building department permit fee schedule. So I'll read the letter into the record. It says, to the Board of Selectmen from James Baldwin regarding permit fees. Al has found the typo. Please find attached a proposed sample of the Town of Seymour's application for building permits and related construction and mechanical permits. Also presented for your review is the new fee structure to cover planning and zoning related applications and administration permits. Due to the changes made in the Connecticut State Building Codes adopted on October 1st, 2018 by the General Assembly, a significant increase of inspections on many areas of permit requirements have now been added for the building department. And it's signed off by James Baldwin, our Director of Land Use and Code Compliance. Okay, so we're going to start off with the building permit fee schedule. And again, we all were copied on an email that Bob had, that he responded back to the group about a concern he had with the schedule itself. And then Rory's response says, Bob, I followed up with the building inspector. They created a prettier version for submittal to the board, but the official version does not have these issues. They appear to have been typos, and then Rory goes on to explain how they were corrected. So, Bob, you're comfortable with the answer that Rory provided? Okay. Is there any other questions or concerns with regards to this? No, and Bob, thank you for doing that in advance so we can get it cleared up and move this forward. That's appreciated. All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Office of the Building Official permit fee schedule as presented by James Baldwin, Director of Land Use and Code Compliance. A motion by Al, second by Bob. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstained? The chair votes aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, next item on the agenda is item number 9, discussion, take possible action regarding zoning permit fee schedule. Again, we have the same letter, which we've already read into the record from Jim. It seems that there were no questions in advance or concerns with regards to this. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the zoning department application fees as presented by James Baldwin, Director of Land Use and Code Compliance. Motion by Bob. Second by Al. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. Or excuse me, 5-0, I apologize. Okay, item number 10, discussion, take possible action regarding NEMBA trail application. Okay, so in your packets, we have a letter from the Housatonic Valley NEMBA chapter. You can see that. And then we have some folks here to do the presentation. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to talk into the microphone. And then obviously state your name. Is the microphone on? Give it a little tap.
Hello? Hello? It's not red in the bottom.
Yeah, Rich, give it a... Rich, it's part of your job description. You're a mic. You're the mic guy. Wow, look at you, Rich.
Magic.
Oh, you can move it around. I mean, you don't have to,
That seems to be working now.
because the cameras pick it up so they hear it on TV. Okay, so name and address and kind of give us the background and go.
I'm Paula Burton. I'm the president of the Housatonic Valley chapter of New England Mountain Bike Association. I live at 31 Longview Terrace in Newtown, Connecticut. But I was a teacher in Seymour for 35 years. I'll just throw that out there. I retired last June, so I have a lot of connections with Seymour. But I'm here because I've been working with Joe Lanier and on Oxford properties to make trails that are, good for everybody, mostly, and for mountain biking. And we would very much like to extend those trails into the Keith Mitchell property. In order to do that, we would need written permission to do the trail. And if you look on the letter, there are some maps that show sort of a concept of what the trail would be like. It would start down at the kiosk on Route 34 and make a little loop up here and then connect into the Rock House Hill Preserve. The reason for the loop is in case people start up in Oxford and then they don't want to go all the way down, so we thought that would work. Another thing we would very much like is we want to expand the trail system also into the DEP land, which is called the Great Hill Block of the Naugatuck State Forest. That borders on Cemetery Road, Holbrook Road, and Great Hill Road. And if we had a letter from the town of Seymour supporting our efforts, that would be very helpful with the DEP. We also have letters from, in the packet I just gave you, from Mike Hurd, who is the Conservation Commission in Oxford. And then we have one of our members who lives in Seymour who could not make the meeting tonight, Chris DeSole. His wife just gave birth to a little baby girl, so of course he can't make the meeting, but he did ask me to read this letter of support. I'm not going to read the whole letter. I'll just read the last paragraph. But in 2017, I discovered the work that Paul and Joe have been doing in the Rock House Hills Sanctuary in Seymour and Oxford. I was excited that a professional organization like NEMBA had finally found Seymour and immediately began donating money to further the cause. As a father of 3 young children under 5, I don't have much time to donate, but I recognize the value of usable public spaces. So I continue to donate a portion of our family's charitable donations to organizations each year. I urge you to let Paula, Joe, and New England Mountain Bike Association improve the value of Seymour's public lands for the benefit of all our residents. And he did leave his email and phone number if you wish to call him. He lives at 10 Cross Creek Lane, Seymour, Connecticut. We also have several other members in Seymour, too. So, and I'll let Joe take over unless you have any questions specifically for me, or you can ask us both questions. Or...
No, Joe, why don't you
Yeah,
comment
Joe needs to do
and
it.
explain kind of what you've done with the kids at Oxford High School and.
Thank you for having us. My name is Joe Lanier. My address is 257 Chestnut Trail Road in Oxford. I am a science teacher at Oxford High School, but also a member of the Inland Wetland and Conservation Commission of Oxford, which at this point we've been working in Rock House now for the past 12 years on establishing a trail system. I did meet with First Selectman Miller and First Selectman Temple about 2 years ago on trying to get our high schools to work together. A little challenging, so instead, right now what I did was I was working with Paula, and we formed our own chapter of NEMBA, which actually has a lot of benefits. We do want to engage the students at Seymour High School as well in the future, but with right now the properties that we have is close to about 1,000 to 1,100 acres of contiguous property only crossed by 2 streets. So we can actually go from Route 34 all the way to Keach Farm Road in Oxford, or which is close to Fox Road, which is in Seymour, only crossing 188 and Moose Hill Road. And so our vision is to really be able to create a center for bringing passive recreation into the area. In Oxford, we're pretty far along in that process, but we definitely see the value in the Keith Mitchell piece of property. I know it's presented some challenges in the past, but it's a beautiful piece of property that offers a lot of opportunity. You have a unique situation where you have a kayak launch, and at the same time where you can ride up or hike up into Rock House and everything else. And not too far away, you also have the other piece across from 188 up on the hill. I think it's Rock. I can't remember the exact name of it. There's like 120 acres up on top as well, which we always look at when I bring today I was out there with my students and we were looking at Seymour and we're like, oh, over there and everything else, and some of my kids have hiked that area as well. So right now what we're trying to do is be able to expand that trail system and be able to really fully utilize the property for its true value and stuff like that. If there's any particular questions if you'd like me to address, because we've had a really good experience with NEMBA where they've been able to bring adult volunteer help. I've always done it with student help, which is great, but at the same time, students are only capable of certain levels of, trail development. And when we started getting more technical, it's been great to bring in the adults and everything else.
But does anybody have any questions, at least initially, on the program? Kind of what they've done so far in Oxford?
So how many folks do you estimate use the system in?
In Oxford right now, one of the things that we probably have, it's hard, it's seasonal. We have our regular dog walkers and hikers and everything else, but right now we have about 12 miles of established trail. And we're set to expand because we recently received another grant for this, and we're about to expand out to about 21 miles of trail. And eventually, if we can hook in with Seymour and with Naugatuck State Forest, we're going to really probably have close to 30 miles of trail and stuff like that. So it kind of varies. What we want to do once we have it established, we don't advertise the system at this point because we're not at capacity for parking and things like that. We're going to put out infrared trail counters to be able to actually identify, which the state uses right now on all their trail systems, to be able to figure out how many people are actually using it and stuff. Because we did that with the bridle trail, and so that's introduced us to that. But right now we're at the point where we want to get our infrastructure in place and established before we start putting it out there. I mean, it's out there, but before we really advertise, because we don't want to have people have a bad experience. There's no parking and everything else and stuff like that. So,
Is there something local?
There's more mountain bikers than definitely.
oh yes, I mean,
Not like a huge amount, but, they are coming to work.
the section on Holbrook to Perkins Road and Moose Hill over by Cemetery Road, we've really made that a magnet for mountain bike riders. We've designed another 7 miles of trail in that particular area and really tailored it to attract that audience. The more technical and stuff like that, we're looking on the Oxford High School side and stuff.
No. Is there something local that, from an example standpoint, that another town's doing that we?
Yes, you could look at, I think it's Madison that has, that's Rockland. It's like the same thing. So Rockland is actually basically 5 years in advance of where we're at. They've been developing this. So Rockland is a really good example.
And how many miles of trails are there? Do you know?
25 miles of trail.
25?
You need, to be sort of an attraction where people are going to be coming on a regular basis, you need probably 20 to 25 miles of trail.
And the one thing that gives us, I like to always promote us, but the advantage over Madison is the fact that we have so many things close by to where we're at. We have, Bad Sons, we have all the restaurants here and stuff like that, and we have up by the airport, we have, Black Hog. All of those things are really big, attractive things to come into the area. The Valley offers a lot, and Seymour has a lot. So that's why we're if we can get all this together, we're really going to be able to kind of put this place on the map again for recreation and everything else. Because the word has gotten out there. I ran into a rider who was from Guilford, watching his friend race up at Hopbrook up in, I think that's the Naugatuck area.
Yeah.
Yeah. And stuff. He was watching the race, but he came to us I heard about Rockhouse Hill, so I want to try it out. And so he was from Guilford, and he's like, wow, he was really impressed and stuff like that. And we're like, we just want to be able to offer that better experience because we have the elevation and the terrain that's very diverse. And that really the valley is unique in that way. That we look at our terrain as kind of limiting at points, but it's actually really to our advantage for this passive recreation.
So any other questions?
Yeah. Thank you. And if you were to be able to, blaze all of this new trail,
how long do you anticipate that it would take?
Now, the one thing to make clear is that with this trail, since this is in the Seymour area, it's going to be specifically done by NEMBA with adult volunteers. It won't involve students per se until eventually we'd like to be able to do that. That is going to really depend on how much we regularly schedule the meetings, because it's built by hand.
Mhm.
This is not machine built
Right.
at all.
Right.
So this is all hand dug trail and everything else. So that's where we're really considerate of the environmental impact and the wetlands and things like that. And that's kind of the reason why when we do design these trails, we look for the dry areas, not necessarily point A to point B, like a hiking trail sometimes you'll see. We really take that into consideration. So, I mean, Paula can speak to like,
I mean, we've, since the new Mount Pike Association got involved with Oxford, that was about 3 years ago. There's been about 4 miles of new trail almost finished. There's one section that we're just, on the level, we're just going in that one, it's
Right.
be done, and that's a new trail, and then we did some other, like, little pieces here and there. So I'd say there's been about 4 miles. It does take a while.
So a little over a mile a year is what you
I
guys
would
have
say
been
that's-
averaging
that's
right now?
Yeah, that's reasonable. As we gain momentum, we're getting more people come out to help do the work and so forth.
Okay, so then I guess follow up to that is there any downside to doing completing half of this? Say we do go forward, we create a bunch of new trail, but then the association loses steam or whatever, you guys move on. Is there any sort of environmental or impact to like the town of a half completed trail?
so as far as that, as momentum, unless I pass away, I've been here for 12 years. I don't plan on leaving Oxford. I've got 18 more years before I retire as a teacher. I want to see this to fruition. This is like, I really think this is going to have a significant impact. But to speak to realities, though, if a trail is half finished, the worst that can happen is it reverts back to forest.
That people
Right.
aren't accessing it.
Okay.
So
I figured. I just want to.
right, because I mean, we've actually seen a significant reduction in the amount of ATV incursion and motorcycle incursion. The last time I actually had photographs coming in from Seymour was actually 4 years ago, and that was coming through the Birmingham, the water company property where they come down the driveway off Squonket Road and stuff like that. And actually, it was adults. It wasn't kids. It was actually like grown men that were actually ATVing, and they had a trike and everything else and stuff like that. But we haven't seen any of that. So, other than just leaving it alone, it'll go back to forest. We're not like having we're not like putting in any kind of serious infrastructure per se,
Okay.
and stuff like that.
Cool.
Dirt trails.
Yeah.
like we would-
Yeah. Okay. That's what I figured. And it is going to be usable by both, hikers and
Correct.
bikes.
Very much so. We find people who are trail runners tend to really like sort of
Yeah.
the same thing that the mountain bikers like. And dog walkers and hikers like the trails too. They might find them to be a little bit different because it's like, so you don't go straight up the hill, they wind around a little bit more.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people enjoy them very much. And we certainly encourage multi-use, and we design the trails for multi-use to make sure, like, you can see someone coming down the
Yeah.
trail and that kind of thing, so.
Great. All right. Thank you.
So any other questions? So what do you guys need from us, I guess, at this point to get the process going? So that way when the board makes its decision, we can make sure that we have all of the kind of ducks in a row.
We would need some kind of written permission to do the work. I would need a contact person. So I can say, we're having a work day out there, and we're meeting at Route 34, and just so you know, we're out there, or if anyone comes and asks us a question, we can refer them.
Oh, we all know who that person is, so there's that's right.
Well, whatever, you would need to decide
WPCA
that
/ Conservation Commission.
Yeah, right.
He's also the chair of our sustainability committee here, and we were talking a little bit about trying to get into some trail work as well. So perhaps we could.
We would certainly invite other interested people to come and see it, whatever.
Eagle Scout projects are a good
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
I'm actually, next year I'm going to be the Scoutmaster for Troop 65, which is Oxford Seymour. But I know Seymour has another troop, Troop 2021, which any kids need Eagle Scout projects, I will push them towards
Yeah.
this area and stuff.
Oh, we
like
have the one that just called. Yeah.
that. Okay.
All right, so now that we've gotten all the fun stuff out of the way, we now go to Mr. Materla for the legal. I mean, no, please, I mean, sit so you're comfortable, and then we'll just kind of pull you back in and out as Rich goes through his.
I was pleased to see they had insurance information here and an insurance certificate. So that's good. That's a real good thing. In terms of doing this in Oxford, what is Oxford required?
Oxford's basically required the same paperwork as for NEMBA. Now, work that's through the students, Youth Conservation Corps, we're coming under the town policy, with a general liability. When we're constructing trails, we're constructing them in their natural state as far as we're not adding any kind of man-made structures. All we did is across the stream, and we're keeping those within the code of the building department and everything else. And we've only had a few, we only have actually one significant bridge. The only significant bridge that we've actually had go through all the approvals is for, capacity of over 30,000 pounds. Which is on Holbrook Road, you guys are redesigning, and it's in what I call dead man's corner. That's actually an official engineer and stamped off and everything else that can carry the weight over. So that's not really meant for passive recreation, it's for maintenance and stuff like that. But everything else, we make sure that we don't design trails that are, incorporating anything that are incorporated. Like I said,
Yeah, also on the Cecil property, there might be a need for a few little boardwalks, but that's something like a big scout, something on the ground,
Mhm.
basically, just to keep out of the mud, and don't think there's any stream crossings at all. Yeah, and because it stays on one side of the river.
Right.
Is the Keith Mitchell property ours or the land trust?
Land trust.
Land trust, that's what I thought.
I thought there was two properties,
Well,
two sections.
see, I'm a little confused about exactly where they want to go. Is this a
The ro- you know the-
substitution for what was proposed a couple years back that didn't get off the ground, really?
Next, it's the kind of next section over. Because we were talking about the land down by the school. You're talking about now on the other side of 188, closer to Seymour,
Okay, so,
going towards Cemetery Road.
not to, I know the area pretty well, so, Mike Corvo was the surveyor, so we have actually all the A2 drawings and everything else in-house. I tried to come here, we didn't actually have anything on file for Keith Mitchell, so I was lucky enough to be able to find him. Mike Corvo retired, but we have all the master drawings, so to speak, in Oxford. The area that we're talking about is adjacent, from the rotary, where the reservoir is.
Yeah.
That runs parallel with Squawket Road.
Right.
That is actually the town of Seymour according to your GIS. Now, the Seymour Land Trust piece is a little further up, because as you go past the dam, which I know you guys really enjoy, the town of Oxford fully appreciates that. So,
We'd be willing to give the dam to the Mountain Bike Association
For $1.
right now.
I heard, yes.
We'll make a sizable donation to the organization.
The dam.
The dam, yeah, that's right.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is sizable. And that was one thing that we remember from our last conversation, that, on the Seymour property, that we would stay away from the dam.
Yeah.
Not to attract attention to it because of all the work that we've done to make sure that people stay away. And stuff, which I will admit, working in the summer now, I've not heard the parties I used to hear during the middle of the day, during the summer, which is great, and everything else. But the Seymour piece narrowed down along the 4 Mile Brook from Squawket Road, into the, probably, if you're looking at the brook, probably maybe 200 yards in. I can go look for pins if we need to be exact, because that's what I've done in Oxford, as far as looking for property demarcation with the
So are you, just so I can be clear, are you intending to go on land trust property, or is your intent to stay on our property?
At this point, with your permission, is to be on the town of Seymour.
I would think that we would need to approach the land trust separately. Certainly having, your approval for the town of Seymour property, and then, once we have that, then we would approach, the land trust.
That's the same process that we actually use in Oxford. When we were to plan on building a land trust property, we would approach the land trust for approval prior, even though as the town representative, we would pretty much have the auspice of all the properties. We would still seek approval prior to engaging in building. But making sure all parties are informed and on board and supportive of it. If a party is not supportive, then we would respect, their opinion and continue doing what they're doing.
That's the thinking look.
So let me, you have the mapping on this?
Not on.
No, but you have the mapping?
Good.
From, and I'm not sure we do here at Town Hall, but it might be helpful to get the mapping, and then,
Rory?
and then we could get back to these folks.
Okay.
Um,
So Rory will pull up the mapping for the land, send it to you, and then you can determine what,
And we'll look at this, and then we'll probably,
In the packet with what you have there for the GIS, and I know our rule from our town is that if you look at GIS, don't necessarily believe it. Get the deed and everything else and stuff like that. When I did come here and request the deed, they didn't have it on file. For the commission, they didn't have all the maps. They didn't have the lower section, which is the narrow piece. I have that section in town of Oxford, which we can make available, obviously, so you can see it in how it's all connected, unless it's somewhere else.
I don't know the answer to that.
I
Yeah.
mean, my first concern is if it's just our property, then we can try to deal with this in terms of permission and how we want to do it. But if we're encroaching on land trust property, then we have to get that entity involved, yes.
Well, right now, we're just asking for town Seymour property. We certainly would, I will start a motion to contact them, but this, Joe is really good at finding the, borders of the land and as those maps, and we make sure we're not going over into some land without their permission.
We can facilitate that, those meetings and things, that's not,
Yes.
that's not an
Yeah.
issue. Actually, Trish, who's not here tonight, her husband's the president of the land trust, so.
Yeah, well, we're not at that stage yet,
Yeah.
actually.
So there's not a-
Them and everything else, but I've been out there the last 5 years working all the paint and spine during the winter.
Right.
And stuff like that, and tagging and spray painting and stuff and everything else, because that's one of the challenges, we're lucky to have the ATs. I know they received a seismic donation from Mr. Oskowski, for the piece, down below, to add to that, the Oxford Land Trust piece, I've marked that out.
Right.
And everything else, so it's completely missing.
Rich, would you feel more comfortable, even though they may not go on land trust land right now, to have it all wrapped up and have all the approvals and everything now?
Well, I think we need to get the mapping and go over it and be confident that it's on Seymour Town property. And then, is your entity an LLC or incorporated or anything? But it's, well, are you saying it's a 501c3 corporate?
You still have to incorporate.
But is it, I mean, you can't be a 501c3 unless you are incorporated, I think, so you, okay. Because we'd probably prepare some documentation. Yeah. And we'd probably ask them to add the town as an additional insured and do some hold harmless and indemnity agreements and things like that. The trails that you folks have are just open to anybody, right? This isn't an organized event per se. These are open at any time for anybody.
If there was going to be an organized event where those that we use the trail on kind of similar property, we would get a permit. We did that last year in Oxford. We got a permit and we had about 30 people who arrived and volunteered.
And your Oxford Trail is up and running.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually expanding the trail system as we speak, so it's
And what, if anything, has the town of Oxford required?
town
You
of
folks.
Oxford. I mean, due to the fact that I'm the town representative and the active land manager on site,
Yeah.
I keep the Conservation Commission / Inland Wetlands Agency informed of our activities. I also go and talk to the Selectmen as to what we're doing, and she's very supportive of our activities. And that we made sure that all of our trail construction was covered under general liability, because if any town property, if someone trips, falls, things like that. it's
Well, the town does in fact have general liability coverage, but in terms of the construction of the trail and the running of events, for example, we have town events all the time on town property, but we have hold harmless indemnity agreements, we require insurance, we do all those things.
It's pretty standard for a big event.
Exactly.
Yeah, we-
Like that, we would probably take on, like, you can get additional insurance for the
Yeah.
day or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see that happening, at least for a couple of years, because we're a small chapter right now. We have about 50 people. And it's spread out. It's in Derby and Southbury and all kinds of places. But,
I think it's all doable, but if you can get us the mapping, that would be helpful. And we have your contact information.
I'm not sure, but
I don't
Make,
know.
if you wanna
make sure
Rory has all-
Rory Burke, the,
Okay, put it on.
Jack of all trades, Roy Burke.
yes.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, try Roy Burke, the Swiss Army knife.
If you'd like to come down and take a tour of that area, I can do that, so the rides.
Put
There
on-
you go.
We'll put you on a mountain bike and send you on your way.
Perfect.
We hike it
Oh.
before.
He wouldn't mind.
Oh, yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Okay. No, it's really beautiful now. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been down there, there's 3 old dams that are in there.
Not in a long time.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Like, it's a hidden gem that no one even sees except for the gentleman who owns Shiloh over there and the one other house. That's it. Like, it's awesome.
So is June 4th realistic to have everything ready to bring back to the board, do you think, Rich?
I think so, if we get the
So we
the
get
mapping and we'll prepare some paperwork, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is everybody on the board comfortable with that? We'll let Rich and Rory work on this over the next 3 weeks, and then our meeting on June 4th. Assuming we have all of the paperwork and everything, we can move this forward. Everyone's good with that?
Yes.
Anything else you two want to? I think we're in good position. I think the board would like to move forward with this. It's just a matter of crossing all of the legal T's and everything else. But please make sure Roy has your contact info, because we probably will take you up on the hike, just to go for, well, at least he'll go, and maybe we'll put a GoPro on his head. So we could see what it's like, but I think that would be great. And Rory will be your contact for all the information that you need and passing everything back and forth. Excellent. Thank you very much. See, Rory, no more HR. That's what happens. That's right.
Thank you.
All right, item number 11, discussion and take possible action regarding revaluation. Right, in your packets, you have a note from our town assessor, Joe Kuziak. It says, oh, well, actually, I don't know what it is, but it's the 2020 reevaluation. The following vendors have submitted proposals. You have municipal valuation services cost, $170,000. Vision Government Solutions, $169,700. And Tyler Technologies, $244,000. In Joe's conclusion, we are currently using and have used Vision for over the last 18 years. We have had good relations in the past and are able to resolve issues quickly. We are satisfied with their services, even though the other revaluation companies are required to use Vision software. They may not utilize the software properly and could lead to additional costs and unwanted results. Tyler Technologies and Municipal Valuation Services, though qualified in my opinion, would not meet the needs of Seymour as well as Vision. Also in consideration are the costs, and again, we just went through those. Therefore, in my opinion, as the assessor for Seymour, it is my recommendation that Seymour's Board of Selectmen approve Vision Government Solutions to perform our 2020 reevaluation. Sincerely, Joseph E. Kusiak, and he is the town's assessor. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Selectmen accept the recommendation of Town Assessor Joe Kusiak and award the bid for the 2020 reevaluation to Vision Government Solutions in an amount not to exceed $169,700. Motion by Al, second by Stefan. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, abstained? Chair votes aye, motion passes 5-0. Item number 12, discussion.
Kurt, make sure you tell Joe well done with that summary, because I would have a billing question. So,
Oh.
no, thank you. That was good input.
Rory will pass that on. Rory and Joe talk.
Well done.
Rory and Joe talk quite often,
Thank you.
so Rory will pass that on. Item number 12. No, actually, in defense of Joe, he asked how he should present it, so,
Did a
yeah,
nice job.
he did a nice job.
Serious.
Item number 12, discussion, take possible action regarding state library grant. All right, in your packets, we have a letter from the town clerk's office to myself from Leanna McMurray, the town clerk. It says, Dear Kurt and board members, every year our office applies for the state library grant through the Historic Documents Preservation Program. I'm in the process of filling out the application and wanted to advise you what the $5,500 grant will be used for once it is approved. The grant will be used to install new vital records cabinets in our vault. This will create better storage and organization for our vital records dating back to the mid-1800s. We're looking forward to working with DuPont Storage Systems again for this project. They installed our new storage system in the back of our vault last year. I've attached the project proposal if anyone has any questions, and Leanna includes her contact information. The second page that, as you can see, is the information from DuPont Storage Systems and what is included with that. So we're just approving the town clerk's ability to go out for this grant, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the town clerk's ability to apply for the 2020 state library grants. Motion by Stefan, second by Bob. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, just quick.
Go ahead. You're going to both ask the same question.
Okay, go ahead, Emery.
The grant is $5,500 and the project price is $62.65.
They budget the difference. It's in their budget.
Okay, and I guess a follow-on to that, because that was also my question. Would this project have to go out to bid?
Does this project have to go out to bid? For $6,200, they'd have to get quotes. They'd have to get 3 quotes. That's for $6,200.
I believe, off the top of my head, it's under the bid amount in the ordinance.
That's ten.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely don't have to bids, they have to get quotes. However,
But there may,
DuPont Storage Systems may be on the state bid list. They may be the preferred provider.
yes.
Yeah,
I just like to see,
we can check into
just
that.
make sure that we're all on the up and up.
And because if they're not, there may be a bidding requirement with the grant.
Correct. Correct.
But this motion is strictly for the grant.
Right.
This was to apply for the grant, correct. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we make sure everything is all set on the back end as well when it comes to that time.
And we have, this is who, as Leanna mentions in her letter, this is who we used in the past for these. That's why I'm wondering if they're either on the state bid list or the preferred provider for this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't presume that we've done anything wrong
Oh,
in
no,
the
no.
past, but I don't want to,
Yeah, no.
if we have, I don't want to continue making the same mistakes.
Yeah, oh, no, understood. So, all right, so everyone's comfortable with, obviously going out for the grants? Okay, no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, chair votes aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, item number 13, discussion, take possible action regarding ordinances. Okay, the ordinance committee met, we had 3 ordinances in front of us, so I will give you updates on the 3, and then we can kind of go through as a group as to what we'd like to do. The first one is the noise ordinance. Not too much to update at this point. This one is going to take a substantial amount of time. Conversation kind of centered around the actual decibel levels and what they mean. What are the times? It says 9 a.m. to, or excuse me, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday. Is 7 p.m. too early during the week? It's obviously way too early on the weekends. 9 o'clock at night on a Monday is different than 9 o'clock at night on a Saturday. So things like that. We also talked a little bit about, how you actually monitor it. We have to have people that are trained. We have to have the equipment. So this, I think, ordinance is going to take some time to go back through, as opposed to just kind of running through it quick and not having any real impact. So at this point, the ordinance committee is not asking for anything else on noise. We're going to continue working on it, and we'll keep bringing it back. The next one is surplus equipment. We made several changes to this in the advertising section. This is the ordinance that talks about putting things on the bulletin board in Town Hall. No one seems to know what the actual bulletin board is. So what we're going to do is we're going to define it as the bulletin board next to the town clerk's office, so that people know what it is. But we're going to modernize this a little bit. There is language in here that, and I'll just read it. If the property to be sold has a value of less than $200, advertising shall consist of a notice on the town bulletin board in the town hall. So that'll be the one by the town clerk. If the value is in excess of $200, it shall be advertised in a newspaper of general circulation for 1 day at the direction of the first selectman. The concern we had is if this is $225 item, we will spend more on the advertising in the newspaper than we will receive for the item. So what we would like to do is change that language to say social media and the town website, or if the Board of Selectmen chooses, they can have it placed in the newspaper. So we want to try to provide as much flexibility. Obviously, we'll let Rich go through and clean up this language. But that's what we're looking for. A further section down, it talks about other town departments desiring to purchase or acquire the property before a notice advertising the property is sent out. Obviously, sent out can mean a bunch of different things. So we're going to say emailed out, because we're going to send this to town departments, because they certainly have first crack at the equipment. So we'll define that. Any department may buy this property for the minimum price without the property going out to public bid, or, in what it says, the first selectman at his discretion may transfer the property to any department without payment. We're going to take out first selectman and put in Board of Selectmen, so that way at least that information has to come before the board, and then the board can move it to any department that they choose. All departments shall be given 3 working days to respond to the notice. We're going to change that to all departments shall be given 5 working days to respond to the email. Again, just trying to clarify it a little bit. And then when we get to the bids section, in the event of, where is it? The bid shall be opened, the current language says, by the Board of Selectmen at their meeting after the close of bids. But we're going to change it to, the bid shall be opened by the first selectman or his designee at the first meeting after, the bid shall be opened by the first selectman or his designee and reported to the Board of Selectmen at the next meeting following the close of bid. So we'll open it in the office, put together a report like we do for all the other bids, and we'll bring it to this board for approval as opposed to the board having to go through opening bids for a piece of equipment that's worth $250. And then the highest bidder shall be notified by mail and by placement on the town website. There's a section on our website for all of this, so we'll put, Al Bruno was the winning bidder for the dump truck, and he's gonna pay $250, so that will be listed out. And then the highest bidder is given 3 working days from the time of the notice of the highest bid. So once they're notified that they're the highest bidder, they'll have 3 days in which to make the payment into the first selectman's office.
3 business days or 3 calendar days?
3 working days.
Okay.
So that's how it's written now. We didn't propose any changes to that.
Right. So, I mean, if you want to say 3 calendar days, but I think because if we notify them on a Friday, that'll give them the 3. We don't want calendar, because if I notify them on a Friday.
Yeah, could be a long weekend or anything.
So should we change business, working to business, Rich, is that? Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna forward this, scribble to Rich to have him clean it up for a red line version for our next meeting. And assuming the board is comfortable with that red line version, we'll forward it to public hearing at our meeting on June 4th to take input from the residents. At that point, it'll come back to the ordinance committee, then back to us, and then we'll make a decision. Okay? I don't think we're gonna get too much of a public input on the surplus equipment ordinance. And then the Strategic Planning Commission ordinance. There's just 2 small changes. It shall consist of 7 members with minority representation considered. We're changing that to 5 members with minority representation considered. And then the wording, on a semi-annual basis, the commission shall, at a minimum, meet with the first selectman and the staff he or she deems necessary. We're going to change that to meet with the first selectman and the staff the commission deems necessary. It shouldn't be the first selectman dictating who's there reporting. It should be who the commission actually wants to see.
Yeah.
So it should be the first selectman and whomever they'd like. So that's the only changes to the strategic planning commission one. So Rich, I'll give these to you, and you can redline those up for our next meeting. Okay? Any questions on any of those? No? Everybody's good? Okay, excellent. All right, item number 14, appointments. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to accept the appointments dated May 7, 2019 as presented. Motion by Stefan. Second by Anne Marie. This is the interactive part. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Chair votes aye. Motion passes 5-0. There's only 2 names on there. Was there a lot of confusion for? Item number 50.
The expiration date on the Steve Kulas says 2012, so let's just get that.
Oh, yeah. That's a,
I meant to say that. And
you 21, 2 years. Yeah, I think you just did a little flip-flopper. Yeah, all right, so Steve Kulas was up 7 years ago. Surprise. All right, item number 15, tax refunds and abatements. Well, Anne Marie's having some fun with a decibel reader. She's got the thing going on as I'm speaking. Right now, I'm at 73, I'm in the 70 decibels.
All right. Well, I'm gonna actually call the police then.
We're in violation of the noise ordinance right now, just me speaking. So there we go. So come take me away. Yeah. All right, item number 15, tax refunds and abatement. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to accept the tax collector's report dated May 3rd, 2019.
So moved.
Motion by Stefan, second by Al. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, Abstained. Chair votes aye, motion passes 7-0. I was wondering what that was. Item number 16 is transfers. It's a flux capacitor. We have no transfers before us. Item number 17, correspondence. We have the check register. We have a letter from the esteemed Richard Paterla. That's J, not C.
Right.
To our esteemed registrars of voters with regards to the questions for the vote for tomorrow. Didn't I type that in my first Selectmen's report? I thought I did, but anyway. All right, so just again as a reminder, Monica, if you can add that to the first Selectmen's report, because I'm not 100% sure why I didn't mention it. No, but that the town budget vote, which you know, will be Thursday, as a reminder, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Seymour Community Center. And we'll be voting on the two questions, as you see here, one on the general government budget and one on the Board of Education budget. So we've already started some social media stuff. So I'm going to ask the board, do you want me to do a code red, yes or no? Yes.
I think we don't need it, yeah.
Okey dokey. So Rory, let's set up a code red. Tomorrow I'll do it. My voice. Oh, yeah.
You're gonna take all the heat, so you're never gonna be able to blame it on us, so it's fine.
Well, that's the. Well, no, what we're going to say is by unanimous decision of the Board of Selectmen, with myself abstaining, they wanted me to call you. Not catching on. So we'll pop something out tomorrow. So that way people are on board.
I would set the over-under at like 55 people if you don't do that, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, we'll put the signs out and, you know, a few of the usual. And inevitably, people are going to say we hit it. So, all right, then in your packets, we have a letter from CEA, which is the Connecticut Education Association.
Yes, I know they are.
They are
I know Jeff Lee.
They are joining towns and cities in their fight against the teachers' retirement system payments being placed upon the towns and cities. You know, this proposal that was put out by the governor and also put out by, or I guess endorsed by the legislature at this point, does nothing to fix the problems, the systemic problems that we have with our pension system. All they're doing is transferring the cost of how this will be paid for. And once again, the legislature is doing absolutely nothing to improve a bad situation. They're just trying to figure out a way in which they don't have to pay for it. In total, this is passing about $75 million of additional cost onto towns and cities. CCM is very aggressively fighting this. As you can see, for the town of Seymour, the cost shift, as they're referring to it, is $23,441 in the first year, $35,376 in the second year, for a total of $58,817. So if this is forced for us to pay, it will result in a tax increase to the residents of the town of Seymour, which will come directly from the folks in Hartford and the governor. So I just want to pass that on. With me in lockstep with CEA. Who would have thought that day would come? And then the last piece is the Seymour Water Pollution Control Authority's budget. They had until July 1st to present a budget, so they are well within their time frame. Rich and myself will be meeting with Anne Marie, who is the vice chair, and their attorney, Ben Proto, just to go over some different things related to the WPCA next Wednesday. So we will have an updated report at our meeting on the 17th. When's our next meeting? Our next meeting. 21st. Okay? So that does it for correspondence.
Voting is done at the community center, correct?
Voting is done at the community center for everybody. Okay. So with that, item number 18, public comment. Is there any public comments? Okay, since we have no public. Item number 19, Selectmen's public comments. Mr. Bohuniak.
Yeah, since the WPCA was brought up, I would strongly urge the WPCA and those who have some sort of control of them to really consider entering the late 20th century and allowing for online bill pay. It is quite outrageous that they do not, and it is actually infuriating, and I make a point to go in there to pay in cash every year despite the angry looks I get when I do. So I would really strongly urge them to do that because I don't want to have to resign in shame for being delinquent on my bills, but that's what it's going to be pretty soon. So I will say that. And then on somewhat more serious news, I just want to say, as we know, Seymour lost one of our greatest residents in Frank Conroy last week, unfortunately. Just want to say, how much he has meant to me over the years that I've known him, and how much he will be missed by me and the community, and just thank him again for all of his, many, many decades of service to the town, the state, and our country. So, thank you.
Thank you, Span. Al?
Good.
Al's good. Emery?
I will bring it up to the WPCA and we'll mention it to our town attorney, or to our WPCA attorney to see if we can get electronic bill pay. I agree that the WPCA is way behind in their years and they need to come of the ages. And that'll be one of our discussion points. Thank you for bringing that up. I agree. I was lucky enough to serve with Mr. Conroy when I first came on to the board in 2007, and I did learn a lot from him. He was a very valuable asset to the town, and he will be missed.
Thank you, Emery. Bob?
I just wanted to thank you for the town leaders and what they put together in the taco eating contest and the money that went to Meals for Wheels. I wanted to thank everybody in the valley for doing that. A lot of good participation, so
It was a lot of fun.
very
That was
good.
a lot of fun.
Hold on, Al would like to,
I would go back. I'd like to thank Kurt and all the men who cooked at Warsaw Park, and Sonia, team. My son Anthony is the co-president of the Valley United Way Leadership Group, and they were there and they had another great time assisting everybody, and that was a cool little selfie you took with all the
the kids?
kids.
Yep.
And again, another great event, so that's what I wanted to mention.
Well, Anthony was my guy, so he kept me fed. So he ran from station to station, just kept bringing me back food, so,
Nice.
yeah,
Good.
it worked out well.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it does explain a lot, yeah. So, Rory, anything we've missed that you're aware of? Mr. Paterno, anything you'd like to add in general? I will miss our annual, I know it sounds dumb, but we used to have the most fun going to get the Christmas tree. Every year, we'd hop in the car and, it was, 40-minute ride out to the place in North Branford. And the stories you hear from Frank would be fun, and then bopping around in the woods with him was always a good time. And watching the trees, he would try to pick, you don't want that tree, that's junk. So it was always fun, so Frank will certainly be, he'll be missed. So, Monica, anything you want to add, because we've given everybody else here a chance to speak? No? All right, so with that,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Emery's made a motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Chair votes aye. Mark the meeting closed at 8:09 PM.